Hey everybody, welcome back to Northern Lion Plays Chess. I've got to admit that over the last couple of days I've fallen into a bad chess habit of playing too much bullet. Playing way too much bullet. You know, in my defense, we do have a 3-month-old baby. It's kind of, you know, I don't get a whole lot of time. But maybe it would be better for my chess skills, you know, if I got 20 minutes to play one 10-minute game where I can actually think things out instead of a bunch of 1-minute games. Either way, I'm excited to be playing some real chess. Some 10-minute chess. Here we go. We're playing an inverted Sicilian defense that I do not recall the way that this line is supposed to develop. What I do recall, at the very least, is that we can make our moves a little bit more slowly because we're not playing bullet chess anymore. So I want to think of some continuities really quick, right? This bishop is protecting this pawn. This knight and the queen are protecting that pawn. We're presently tied. Of course, in terms of material, it is only move 6. It's pretty early. Whose position do I like? I think they're fine. I think both positions are roughly equivalent, is my take. Sandeep, I'm assuming, is going to have to make a choice. You know, do you castle here, commit yourself to the king side, leave your queen side kind of underdeveloped for the time being? Or maybe do you take the opportunity to start developing your queen side a little bit? In theory, you could make a push to d4, which would force me to make a decision. I cannot take because they have too much coverage of the square. So if they were to move to d4, which I consider somewhat plausible, I think they're just away from the computer right now, for the record. But if they push to d4, we have a couple of options. We could do nothing, in which case maybe they'll take. We develop our bishop, but it leaves us with a pawn that's kind of like in the middle of no man's land. It's not great. Whereas they would have 2 3-piece structures. It's like KFC, you know? Okay, well, it's fine either way. They chose not to push to d4, so they're going to inhibit development a little bit in the center, but that's okay. It's okay for them, honestly. I don't know. They might push c5 at some point. It's kind of a weird play, but we would still just push d5 ourselves. Personal take here. I don't mind pushing bishop to d3. Get a little coverage over here. Wasn't my intention to threaten that pawn, but that's fine. I don't believe we have to castle. They're trying to stop either some pressure on this pawn or our ability to push our bishop to g5. Very understandable. We could do what's called a fianchetto. It's probably not how it's pronounced in you know, the original Italian, but that's okay. And get our bishop, you know, under this. And I really like that diagonal. For the time being, I think we're just going to castle. I think our bishop is flexible right now. So I actually think like we have tempo, which is a fancy way of saying I think we're controlling the pace of the game and the direction of the game right now. So I actually prefer our position. What we're going to do next is you got to look at where the enemy is kind of weakest. And they are weakest here after they castle. That doesn't make it much better, I'll admit. We still have enough coverage here because of our knight. We don't really, in my opinion, I don't see a need to push the pawn. Which, you know, it kind of locks it in a little bit, but a move to here, I guess that would probably be considered kind of good for us. Maybe it is okay to move the pawn, but let's do this first. I like the rook to here. Put some pressure on, you know, this open file that's been opened up by the exchange of our e-pawns way back in, you know, move 4 and 5. Then if they castle, they're taking one space away. This is one where I really do not want them to... I mean, I wouldn't mind if they take, but I will take the time to force them back a square if possible. Let's have them make the choice. Because he wants to take this pawn now. He wants me to, like, oh, you know what? He can just do it. Yeah, okay. That's why you should always take a second to think through your moves a little bit more. My expectation is we'll see this, and then this. Which I think is actually a pretty good move. I'm trying to think if there's any clever way out of it. Like, what if we just willfully opened up our king file? Oh, you know what? Maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. No, it's actually, like, we got to be very careful here. If they take, we take. They take, we take. I don't know what they do next, but you might be thinking their knight that would be on this square has a nice opportunity for a fork. I would absolutely agree, with the exception of the fact that our bishop is here guarding that square right now. So for the time being, I feel okay. And would I feel superior? I probably would, actually. If they did this, like if we did this line right here, I would feel better. We would be tied in material. They would have traded a bishop for my knight in a more open game. And their pawns would be in this like 1-2-3 piece here. Whereas our pawns would be in a 3-3, which for the endgame tends to be a little bit better. Just trying to walk through my decision-making process here. It also seems likely to me that we will carry a time advantage forward here. Okay. So we know that it's probably going to be this. No, because then we would just take that. Okay, so we'll definitely just do that. And, you know, this is the position that we saw coming. So there's a castle. I think we definitely want to put pressure on this knight. There's really no safe place for it to go. So what I imagine will happen is that they will probably threaten my queen here with something. Honestly, I don't even know. Now that I think about it. Okay. No, that's actually a pretty decent move. But it does leave us with a great ability to move this bishop and have a discovered attack on this bishop right here. We can't really take... But you know what I'm running through in my head right now is this possibility, like right there. It's not very, like, we could do better. I think we could do better than that. Let's put it that way. But we do want to move the bishop. It's possible they won't discover. So the ideal situation would be to move the bishop to a place where we could actually get some productivity out of it. And I'm worried that, like, there will be a fallback here next. Maybe, no, we don't want to trade bishop for knight, in my opinion. Like, if I do this, they do... If I do this, they do that. We have a little bit more of a problem, because it's not like we're not going to do this, right? So I almost like this, but it's one of those things that I think you just got to acknowledge is probably a little cuter than it actually is positive. This, I don't think it gives us enough. So, but then what do you do? You know, this, okay, it's not amazing, but it does force them to make a move, I suppose. I mean, they could still do that. Okay, so we knew that this was plausible. They will probably get a pawn out of this. They might get more. Things are about to get a little spicy, but I think we had a really good discovery there. I mean, I do not mind at all. Depending on how you take here, we actually get some tempo. And yeah, they've given up their attack on this pawn. Now, I still like the trades. Don't get me wrong. I also don't mind something like this, though. We got plenty of time on the clock, and we have a considerable advantage. It's worth taking the time to think this through. In theory, I mean, because we're up by a bishop, the swaps are actually super valuable. In my opinion, Levy may disagree. But I'm willing to force the issue here. And I love this. And I think I love, you know, we got so much time on the clock, mostly because our opponent took forever as well, which is, you know, not bad necessarily. But I think I love this. I think I actually, like, here's my future game plan. This, to which, what are they going to do? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that yet. Which is usually a good thing if they don't have an apparent move, unless I'm... Well, I don't know. Honestly, if I did this, they could do that. It's kind of a hot take. I don't know if I would recommend it. We could always do this first, and then, you know, we're covered in the capture, but I don't think that's that good. I think we like this, swap, and then start to take over this square where we get a lot of coverage down here. So I think we'll start here. And if they want to trade a knight for 2 pawns, then, you know, with them already being down, I think I consider that acceptable. I told you, like, I just didn't think they had much here. So I think our next move is that. And I would love that trade now. To get 2 pawns on the same file is beautiful. They don't like it at all, which is very understandable. And they're going to try to start working us down here. So if they did here, what do we want to do? We could really just fall back to here and face no concerns from it. So I think first we'll do this. I'm just trying to make sure they don't get like a sweet fork out of it later or something. Either way, it's a fork on the pawns right now. Like these 2 pawns are forked. The flip side of that is that this one's actually covered by the knight. So the only way they put themselves in too much danger is by moving the knight. Yeah, okay. So now, like, to put some pressure on this knight would probably be advisable. We could do it in a couple of different ways. One way is to put some extra pressure here. And I don't know how you cover this. I guess you do something like that. Or you start to push this right here. You have to be very careful with the enemy having knights. This is an extremely powerful square. So we knew that this was likely, but we're okay with it. I mean, the check kind of forces an interesting play here, right? Like, why wouldn't we just take immediately and then force... I don't think they would do the trade. I think they would probably fall back. But then we do have to acknowledge that this thing's in trouble. So you know what? If this thing's in trouble, why don't we just move it right off the bat? And then let's see how they want to behave here. If they move this up, which is kind of an interesting one, we could always just go check and then fall back and take the pawn. Okay, I don't consider this to be a very strong move, but I might be wrong. Again, we have to be pretty careful. You might think like, oh, that just blows us out. I don't think so. Because we take this. And then, I mean, if you want to swap, we're going to swap. Oh, well, we're going to swap then. Okay. I mean, we actually have a funny, like, mating opportunity here. Let me get Tomo out for a second. Okay, Tomo. Or in, I should say. Like, if we can move this knight off, we almost have mate as is. You gotta be a little careful with time. So we're just crunching the numbers. I think we're willing to do this. So then check necessitates this move. They resigned. Okay. I mean, that was not the best game I think I've ever played, but I was pretty proud of myself. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. I think that we reasoned our way. We were driving the bus on that one, which is valuable, right? Like we had a bishop advantage. Like I just want to look. Oh yeah, like once we got to, we did give up something right there. I don't know what. Probably like not the best move is my guess. They had a pretty good game too, 76% accuracy, but then we were just throttling them from the rest of from the word go there. Okay. So the opening, pretty standard. They don't really like that move, and I actually like agree considerably because it gave us this, which they actually don't think is the best move, which is interesting to me. They like this, but then what if this happens? No, they don't like it. They consider it an inaccuracy. Okay, well then but then what would my response to that be? If I did c6, so people told me click the magnifying glass, and that's how you enter you see the next best move. Okay. This will give us because it puts a lot of pressure on this. Okay. But then if they did that, it's good. It's better than the best, apparently. Yeah, I don't know how this... I don't necessarily like how this develops, but that's fine. So we did that. They like us by about half a pawn. They think that move's the best move. They love that. They think that's okay. This took like 50 or... It might have taken like 200 seconds for this move to come out. But that's okay. It's not a bad move. They thought that was the best move, which I'm very pleased with. They liked that one okay. And they still like my position here. So they wanted us to push, which we did consider. And they like it by, you know, actually like 0.3, which is pretty solid. But we're still forcing the issue by putting some pressure on this vertical file here. So they don't really like that move. I know they say good, but, you know, it leads to a disadvantage in their mind. They think that's the best move. They also thought this was the best move. We took here. They like that. They like that. So we're still doing things the way they're supposed to be done. They like the castle. What did we do from this point? Did we not? I think we did bishop to e3 here. And they think it's okay. They prefer this. Okay. I wonder why. I mean, because the bishop is stuck. So they basically have to trade. Or they'll lose the bit. No? Okay. They don't like it. They like, what do they like here then? Then do we like this? Yeah, they like that. And then you take here. Okay. Still leaves us in a pretty like normal situation. But anyway, let's walk it back to canon. They like this move okay. They hate that. That was like the first move that really they were like, you made a big mistake here. So this, I think, if I'm correct, this is where we did not capitalize on... like this they gave us a 1.1 advantage or 1.2 or something like that, and then we just gave it right back to them, I think. Because we did this, which is not very good. What they prefer is that. Probably followed by this. Like I said. Probably. Anyway, that's not the way it went down, but it's good to know. I think that they like this. It's a trade. Which is not necessarily good, but the knight is in a powerful position. It doubles up their pawns. It also removes power from this square, which covered this square, and allows us to start putting some pressure on this pawn. I don't know what they do with it from that point. Probably something like this. Absolutely not. Why? What's the punish there? Oh, we take the bishop for free. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, so then they would do this, at which point we would probably just take here. No, then we would go for the fork. Okay, so I was like not as switched on as I thought I was. But anyway, they didn't love this move. Where were we? There? Okay. They hate that move. They're like, you just gave up a ton. We took, which was right. I mean, we weren't too far off of optimal lines here. They actually like the trade, so Levy, you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. And they think we handled this exchange appropriately as well. They actually prefer the trade, which I agree with because it gives them tempo and they're kind of screwed anyway. That was the best move. That was a good move. That was the best move. Okay. That was the best move, and now I'm feeling like... I'm feeling positively ego-driven right now. So they like the take. Now, so I definitely, with a little extra thought, I could have seen this. So why do we take here? They literally... I mean, they probably would... But then you get the easiest pin of your life here. Do they like anything else instead of this move? Like, I'm trying to think of what they like. They probably don't take. Let's put it that way. Yeah, they prefer that. At which point, I think we probably would just take. But anyway, because we're trying. At this point, I'm just trying to simplify the game. Okay, so what happened? We did this to put more pressure on this pawn, which was unnecessary. They did that move. They consider it okay. We did the best move. I'm proud of myself because it's a little bit of an unusual one. Then we start to take, and they do that, which was not that amazing, thankfully. We do that, which they still consider the best move. They like that. They like that. And we're pretty much static here. They don't like that move, and I understand why. And this is where they resigned, which is fair. It's very unlikely, especially with no pawns on the king side, or sorry, on the queen side, that they were going to ever get one of these to the end and promote. They really need like 2 blunders to get us into a position where we lose that one. Okay, I mean that was a great game. By my standards, that was That was a pretty great game. I'm hoping to avoid what I often do, which is have like one game where I focus, and then immediately I'm like, I can't lose, and then I just throw it away. All right, so we'll be playing the black pieces this time. To respond to E4, we do the Caro-Kann right now. It's all pawns, no ideas. So the E5 push is something that I still don't know how to deal with. I'm gonna make a concerted effort when I get some free time to actually study up on a couple of openings, because I do feel like I fall behind on them from time to time. So I think my next game plans are push E6, push G6, and like fianchetto the bishop, even though it's not incredible, and then get the knight to here, which is like as good as it gets. It kind of sucks to do this early because it blocks in this bishop, but I'm going to accept it. Either way, now that I think about it, because I'm glad sometimes even if you're not actively thinking, your brain's doing stuff in the background that can be helpful. I actually like the line now where we push C5, which forces them to either like double up here, which kind of screws up their queen side. If you follow like the trades through to their logical conclusions, and then maybe like we get some pressure down here. It's a pretty common line. I don't know if it's like the actual most common line, but I do see it a lot. But yeah, I think I really like C5 here. And the other thing is, if they want to trade, they got this pawn that's out in no man's land. We get a tempo by developing our bishop to a good square for free. And now that we're here, it's fine. We don't have any need to really overcommit. Like, we can just leave this kind of hanging as something that costs mental overhead for the rest of the game. I fully expect at some point we will see something like this, and then we'll have to defend with that. Doesn't bother me. I can't imagine that you're gonna make this push. I can't. But there is something in my head where I'm like, you know, now I actually love this move for me. Like, I think that's a much better spot for the knight. Because if we push, we can now trade, and it doubles up your pawns. Which is not something I think we need to focus on, you know, immediately. But is not bad. And the other thing is, like, I'm actually considering the idea of, like, knight to e7. Now, you might think he comes here, and now you got your queen is pinned. But we'll walk him back. I don't mind the walk back, and then when he goes here, we go here, and we could still castle on either side. We probably would prefer to castle on king's side, but anyway, I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Like, no, obviously he's not going there. If he goes here, it's just sort of like a weird play. Like, we just do this, and then he goes back. I mean, I guess, no, he could go here, but then we would probably just swap and be happy to do so in such a closed game. I don't know, or we could push a6, but I think that loses us a tempo right now. So personally, I actually prefer knight to e7, but we've taken way too much time just to be on move 6 here. But you know, at the end of the day, I want to win, but I also want to yeah, that maybe not so good. I want to take the time to explain my thoughts over time as well. So I think we actually got away with one there, because, like, why wouldn't they just do the exchange? Now, do I want to trade? Probably not, still. I think I'd rather just move my knight, even though it's not really very good. I don't want to give them too much time on this. The other thing we could do, I mean, you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to push. I'm not going to exchange. I'm going to push. I think we got lucky. And however they want to play this one on the queen side is fine by me. We have a good position for our knight. Their bishop can no longer get in to do anything here. It can really only move there. Perhaps they could put it under a parapet, if you will. I will say, I'm sure when we go back into the analysis, they're going to absolutely hate this move, which is fair. I bet they prefer that, but anyway. Okay, so again, it was kind of as predicted. For the time being, I think we do best here. And my reasoning is here covers more space for sure. Technically there, I guess, as well. But it gets countered pretty hard by this. We don't really care if they move their knight there. In fact, we'd probably consider it a positive right now if they move their knight there. But we get hard countered a lot, sorry, by the move to here instead. Anyway, I think we do bishop to e7 now. A very slow developing game for sure. So we have kind of a plan. And it looks a little bit probably like queen to b6 to put some pressure on this pawn, which kind of locks the bishop in there. Apart from that, see, we knew something like this was plausible. I actually, at this point, now I'm like, I think this move's pretty good. But then we have to consider, if I go here to threaten the bishop, and they go here, exposing an attack on the knight, what do? We could swap, but I actually don't like the queen taking that. I think our bishop's kind of better right now. So another thing I'm thinking of, I mean, I think we castle, but I think maybe we also start pushing our b pawn up. So I'm going to castle first. But I think that our slightly more longer term, so they didn't want to trade, which now I wish I did it because we would have gotten maybe like a tempo out of it. But then how would we have fallen back? I don't know. Now I think I prefer this. So we're going to, like, my attack plan right now is pretty simple. We don't really care about what's going on our queen side. You know, like there's no valuable, our king isn't here. It's not to say there's no valuable pieces, but our king isn't here. So in some ways, why wouldn't we, you know, use our pawns to start putting some pressure on and locking them in here, so that we can hopefully get some tempo out of it. Not some tempo, like honestly some material. And the other thing is, like, if we can somehow cause like some arbitrage, I guess they want to trade knights, which I don't know, I might be okay with in order to get this open. Like, I'm assuming they're gonna come either here. Okay, so this is a thinking man's game here. Were I them, I probably would not take. So they will leave this open. We don't really want to take, because if we take, they get control of, they get some pressure. What about this though? No, we hate it. I think we're okay with this. Yeah, I think we would consider ourselves okay with this. They might push. If they push, we'll close it. If they don't push, what could they do? They take. We definitely take here. Which means, in my opinion, we have two moves. One is here to get some control of this, and maybe some pressure on that. The other one is here. Here. I don't really want to move my queen off of this file where we have some protection right now. I wonder if that's not like a move that gives us more power than you'd expect. We are starting to run out of time. It's not like there's a considerable disadvantage, but you know, we've used almost half our time just to get into a position where we're precisely even on material. It's an interesting game though. It's a much more kind of low-key game, but once things start to pop here, they may pop in a big way. Whose position do I like more? It's really hard to tell. I mean, my hunch at present is that we're pretty much dead even. And I have no idea where to move, for the record. I do feel like maybe bishop to here gives us some coverage across this diagonal. Or alternatively, maybe gives us some weakness across that diagonal. So we like this, in my opinion. I don't know whose position I like more, is the frank answer. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I was just going to say, I think I much prefer... Actually, I don't mind this particular move at all, because I think it just forces you back. But then we got to figure out what the heck we're going to do with this next. We got to think carefully, too, because I was like, wait a minute, didn't I just hang this? So you have no move here. You can move here or here. It's your choice. We do have to be careful because this will put some pressure on this piece, but like my dream for the future is that we could maybe get our bishop to here and control some space on the back line. Because I think the next step for sure is I imagine they're going to do this. At which point I do this, and we start to put some pressure on the queen to maybe be forced back. It's not the way they handled that at all. That's probably better, to be fair, for them. And now, like, it seems like the rest of the game, for at least temporarily, is going to be fought along this diagonal, which is okay. We might start to consider reworking our attack to elsewhere, but there's not a whole lot of opportunities for that. Putting some pressure on this pawn is nice. I want them to take, just for the record. This is a very much a thinking person's game here. We can't do that because it'll block the coverage of the rook to rook. So what am I gonna do here? What am I gonna do here? We don't really want to take this piece off. I kind of want to push this in the future. It leaves this pawn hyper vulnerable though. Maybe I'm okay with this situation. Maybe we like that. No, we don't like that because we want you to trade with us. We don't want to be the ones to trade. So we want to force the issue elsewhere right now. It's kind of a weak move, but I'm going to protect against this sort of attack here. And if you want to trade, let's trade. I think this is like, I don't know, Charlietron, 1508. I feel like we're both playing above our weight class right now. This would be a situation where I would be like, you know what? I'll offer you a draw. Charlietron would like to chat. Just watch one of your videos. Yo, thank you. Okay. See, I'm glad I didn't say anything I regret with respect to Charlietron. They took the draw! Hey! You might take this as like a coward strategy. But I'm like, good game. I want to go to the analysis there. I think that was a kind of a boring game, but also there's a lot to learn. Plus, I mean, I know we lost a point, but I'll take 1.5. How did they... Oh my god. Even game. At the end, there was less than a pawn difference. 68 versus 66 accuracy. No blunders from either side. Officially, like, the most boring, but also most interesting game of chess. Okay, so I'll tell you. They actually... Okay, that's good to know, because, like I was saying, I need to know how to deal with the advanced variation if they choose to push to e5. So they like this. Presumably, that leads to that. And then we do that, maybe? e6... No, e6 is not well liked. Do they prefer maybe knight to c6 is a book move. Okay, so you put some pressure on this, they do that. Then maybe you do this. Like, is this the response? Okay, they like it. Then we do e6. Yeah, okay. Good to know. I actually don't mind this position at all. Presumably, they might do that, I guess, to defend the pawn. Yeah, all right. I'm still okay with this, though. We give up a pawn. What do we have? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. This pawn is, like, probably not long for the world. Wonder if they like this. No, they don't like it at all. They like knight to h6. Really? Oh, okay. We'd probably see knight to h6. I imagine you'd see knight to c3 at some point. They like it. Okay. No, they like the trade. Okay. Creates a very interesting game for sure. How do they consider the game right now? Pretty even. A little weird, but pretty even. They like that. Probably they like this. Okay, so it's a pretty even game, but it's more wide open. All right, good to know for the future. I'll probably forget it by the next video, but... Okay, so what do we do instead? I think we did e6, which they think is okay, maybe, at best. They like that. They like that move. Okay, so does this have a name, by the way? It's just continuing the advanced variation, I suppose. Okay, so it's pretty open. Well, I mean, it's closed, but it's pretty standard. Pretty even, I should say. So they actually like knight to g... Or knight from g to e7, which surprised me a great deal. Because I thought, like, okay, I did that. What if they do this? They do consider it good, but they don't consider it best. Okay, well, maybe we had nothing to worry about in that case. So we close them in. They consider, you know, white has maybe a one-pawn advantage right now, but it changes quite drastically. So they actually much prefer this move. which I didn't consider very strong. But what did they like as a reply? You move the knight back. We don't have to trade, so I would probably still castle. I would maybe force them to do something. No, they're gonna get the bishop out. Okay, all right, good to know. Anyway, that's not how it went down. They like that move. They consider white to still be up by a pawn. They like this move from me. They don't like that much. I actually agree, by the way. I think starting to advance the kingside pawns would have put a lot of pressure on me here. They love this move. We're starting to get in there. They think that move could have been better. Let's be honest. They think that move could have been better. They do not like that. Why? They prefer this. Which is funny because I thought I kind of hated this. But I guess it does probably... Like, I don't like this pawn structure at all, and I think it opens us up to, like, considerable attack here. But it does make our bishop very powerful. Like, I almost wonder if it doesn't go like this. This. Nope, they still like h4. Okay, so let's assume they did h4. Maybe they like this from me. They think it's okay. And then they want me to maybe get some power across this diagonal here. That's my guess, at least. But that's not the way it went down. Okay, so we took here for some symmetry. Again, it says it's good, but they actually lost almost a pawn relative to the best move. So they love that from us, which was nice. They don't really like that too much. And I think, like... Oh, that was the best move. That's funny. They consider... This is where we drew, which seems very fair to me. I mean, given this... Yeah, white had an advantage, but, like, it was going to take a lot for them to press it. Anyway, that was a fun video. We went 1.5 out of 2. Can't complain. Charlie Tron, thanks for the good game. Hope you at home enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. It was a blunderless video, which is very exciting for me. And, you know, hopefully it's, you know, maybe a little less zany than normal, but hopefully we're learning something and we're starting to improve a little bit and think about our moves before we make them. For now, though, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!